So Eddie, you actually played the Comedy Cellar. How did that come about?
I don't know. Do you know how it came out? Is it because after I met you guys? Oh, I'm supposed
I'm
to
not
include my
here.
question. You're not here. It's up. People ask me how I played the Comedy Cellar. People ask me how I played the Comedy Cellar often. Right now, especially how I played the Comedy Cellar. I think it's because I met Mr Trellis. You might have heard of Mr Trellis. Why was it called Mr Trellis?
People ask me why it was called Mr Trellis, and it was a random name, but I think subsequently it was a name of a character in Flann O'Brien's A Swim Two Birds.
Ah, okay. So anyway, I met Mr Trellis. Did I? I don't think. Yeah, I think it must have been after I met you guys, the Mr Trellis guys, because you can't see this now, but there's a Mr Trellis, ex-Mr Trellis guy sitting right here, Kevin, and I think that's how it happened. I don't think I wandered in, but after that I started trying to wander in and play the Comedy Cellar. But I think that was the first time. So it must have been after 1990 when Mr Trellis, all three of you, Barry Murphy, Kevin Gildea, yourself, and Ardal O'Hanlon played Edinburgh Festival.
We played a venue in Edinburgh.
Great Fires Kirkhouse.
And you were running it.
No, I wasn't. I was. A relationship started out with the woman who was running it, Sarah Townsend, who has now directed a number of my movies and did Believe and stuff. And so at that time in 1990, it's the first time I'd met her. I was doing the accounting for it. That was the weird thing.
That's right. I just saw you with the money.
Yes, because I was doing accounting and financial management at uni. I dropped out of that about 10 years before, but I like spreadsheets. Spreadsheets I find lovely because you can put these little formulas in, and it appeals to my mind. There is a mathematical thing in comedy, so I was doing that kind of stuff and just making everything add up, and it was the only time I really was an accountant. I had this Walter Mitty thing of being an accountant. You know, like a lot of accountants would daydream going in on a train to work maybe, and they think maybe I could be a street performer or a performer or join a circus or whatever, rock and roll. But I had the other one. I was a street performer. I used to dream of being an accountant.
Yeah, I had a gag once. I ran away to the circus to become their accountant. Anyway, so we'll take it back. You played the Cellar. You met Mr Trellis in Edinburgh. You were running the venue, and then
I wasn't running the venue.
How did you end up coming to play the Cellar in Dublin?
Well, was I asked? I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe Barry Murphy knows. I
tell you.
No. Do you know?
Yeah.
Oh well. How was it? How are you, invisible
Well,
person?
This is how you ended up playing the Cellar. You said to us, "I'll book you gigs in London. Send me a video." And given the way we were back then, we never send you a video. So you were coming to a wedding in Wicklow, I think it was.
Oh yes. Was it that? So I was going to Wexford.
Yeah.
I was going to Wexford. That's right, for a wedding. My friend Gary Marlowe, he was marrying an Irish woman, and it was in Wexford, and that's where they were based as well. I think it was down that way. So that must have been why I came. So that's as far as I know. But did I just double that up and say I'll pop in, or did I just come back through Dublin? Or I can't.
Oh no, this is why you're here.
No, yeah, but
What happened was
I was happy to play, but I can't remember why.
Well, because we never send you a video, so you arrived in the Comedy Cellar with the video camera. You videoed Mr Trellis.
All right.
To go and get his gigs in London, and you did a set.
Ah, was that
and
it? Okay.
You got his gigs.
And I got your gigs, and you didn't turn up.
Barry's dad got sick.
His dad got sick.
Yeah,
No, you told me.
No,
I'd heard that you had a sitcom that you had to go and do, or a coward attacked you. I had to do all your gigs.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really sorry. It was.
Yeah, I know. It was actually a bit of a pain. It was. I think you guys. Well, I don't know. They paid me for the gigs, but I had to go and do all the gigs that I wasn't going to do because. So what year would that have been? So it must have been after 90. So I would have left the circuit.
Do you want to tell that story then as though you remember it?
Sorry.
Do you think we should get that?
I think maybe.
I remember exactly how I came to play the International Bar, which is the Cellar Club, which isn't in the cellar, it's on the first floor, and that's the joke. And I was coming down. I've been reminded of this story by I can't remember who. This is my good short-term memory. I was going to a wedding in Wexford. My friend Gary Gary Marlowe was getting married to an Irish woman, and down there, and then I was trying to get the Mr Trellis guy's gigs in London, because I was predicting that Irish people would really come in and do well in the UK. And it wasn't really happening. There weren't many Irish, if any. Well, Sean Hughes was already over there, but I think he grew up more in Britain. So yes, he's. Anyway, so the Irish people from the Republic, there wasn't that direct line over that there is now. And so I said, well, you hadn't got a video, so I was going to come and video you. This is apparently this I am reminded of. And so I came down to video you at the Comedy Cellar, and then I went and did a gig. I first gig. But later on, I did a first gig, and Dylan Moran was doing his first gig there. That was a different gig, I think. Wasn't that? That wasn't.
You played there twice.
No, I played there I played there 3 times. Yeah, I turned up. I played there recently, like about 2 years ago. But Dylan was doing his first open spot apparently, and I was on that night. That was a different night.
So when did you last play the Cellar?
I think it was I last played the Cellar. I think about 2 years ago. I turned up, and I think the guy on the door. He didn't say you got to get out, and he just charged me, which everyone thought was very funny. But I was happy to pay because when you got the money, you're happy to pay. It's when you haven't got the money, you don't want to pay.
And what do you think of the Cellar? What do you think?
Well, it's great. It's a great, it's the fact that it happens. The fact that it was very difficult. It was the first club, wasn't it, in Dublin? And I always noticed that there was this interesting thing, because in the Irish psyche, it seemed that everyone felt we're all pretty fucking funny, like built in. So we're not going to go and pay to go and see it. But so I think the truth of it is that maybe everyone is kind of got the funny genetics in. Maybe it isn't a Celtic thing, because Scottish people are very funny too. But if you go and pay to see it, you'll see very fucking funny people. That's the difference. You could be funny in your own life, but you can go and see very, very funny or very, very, very fucking funny people in the Comedy Cellar, and it's great. And it's it's all people sitting all over the place, and it's like the '60s. It's a permanent '60s. Bob Dylan could turn up and do some jokes and fit right in.
And do you think there's room for a small pub, a small room above a pub in this sort of age of giant tours and arenas? Is there a room for that?
Yes, no, that's always what there should be. And in fact, London has this great thing of I constantly, in my accounting type way, I count the number. I go through Time Out magazine and I count the number of different addresses where venues are. And there are, in this time of recession, there are still 60 clubs, and it goes between 60 and 80 clubs, which is the biggest thing going. So it's a great engine there. So those engines should be there in every big town and city of the world, I would say.
Them to generate the future.
Yes, exactly. They are the greenhouses. Yeah. The greenhouses where people can develop their stuff and go on and do 5 minutes in front of 20 people, 30 people. We had a club called Bungees that had 20 people, was a sellout, and it was a great gig.
Finally, Eddie, when are you playing the Cellar again?
I don't know when I'm playing the Cellar again. Next time I roll on by. But it's a Wednesday night, isn't it?
It's a Wednesday night.
It's a Wednesday night.
Any Wednesday you're free.
Yes, I know. Well, I tried to play there before. There's another night I tried to play there, and it wasn't open because it wasn't a Wednesday. But, yeah. Whenever I film in places, like I'm just about to go and film in Scotland, so I will play Edinburgh. When I was filming Treasure Island in Dublin, I played Vicar Street right here. Did a benefit here. So I always try and make sure I'm playing somewhere where I am.
Eddie, thanks very much.
Thank you. Can we shake hands?
Your memories. Here.